to kill the girl boss, why LinkedIn posts about gender started a debate. In the article, Ashley Sumner discussed how she started to feel that her identity was based upon her being a female. She decides to post something where she writes, "I am a female founder," but crosses out the female. She ends up getting a lot of replies to this post. I mean, it was mixed with people, other women who felt the same way, that their description as a female founder took away from all of the work that they put in. And there was also other women who felt that it helped empower other women because it showed that if they can do it, so can someone else in their position, in the same position. There were also men that discussed this, that had something to say about this. When you do any type of paperwork, and that includes surveys to medical forms to work forms, they always ask about your gender and your race. And of course, with medical forms, like it's discussed in the article, it's needed to make accurate diagnosis or to get accurate medical history. But why is it still such an important part of our lives in this day? Four course concepts that I thought were important and related to the article were language as a source of power, gender socialization, stalled revolution, and vertical occupational segregation, vertical occupational gender segregation. For language as a source of power, the description in the textbook says, language is another area in which sexism can be overlooked. There are many patriarchal assumptions in language. When internalized, these messages can further reinforce sexist attitudes and behaviors. When you think of a doctor, a boss, a professor even, usually the first thing that comes in mind is that it's a male. I work for a mental health office, and most of the people who call in to ask about my boss, they always assume that she is a male. When we tell them that she's a female, sometimes they're taken aback because that's not who they expected to be in charge. And sometimes they've already gotten a lot of information about her, but still believe that she was a male. Another thing, when we use the description of a female, we always expect a certain type of we always accept a certain type of leadership style just because she's a female. If you ever heard somebody describe their female boss versus how they describe their male boss, they always explain it as the female being more emotional versus the male who's just seen as more powerful. And also there is a bias when it comes to males, how they see women bosses. Most of them prefer not to have a female in charge of or not in charge or overlooking their work. The next one is gender socialization. This is defined in the book as occurring when individuals, internalize the social expectations and an attitude associated with the perceived gender. We've all seen male nurses or even male nannies, and for some reason they're always looked down upon. But when a female does the same job, it's not the same. We don't have the same idea for them. that we do for men, because we expect the men to have a higher a job status or a higher pay. We expect them to not lower themselves to female jobs. Another thing that was discussed in the article is how women aren't aren't seen as the gender that chases their dreams or does everything in their power to be successful, like we expect men to do. So when we see women in power, we're kind of taken aback because it's not expected. And women, of course, are expected to get lower pays compared to men. So that was also another thing that was brought up in the article, that um, some females felt that, some women felt that if they include their gender, they may get paid less compared to men doing the same job or being in the same field. Stalled revolution. There was a description in the textbook that said, however, overall employment rates and general attitudes about women only tell part of the story. In reality, equality has not been achieved. Some researchers have called the gender revolution stalled and uneven. Yes, we have seen a higher number of higher status, I'm sorry, a higher number of women working in higher status jobs. However, the men aren't picking up where the women leave off. So, for example, if they're in a family, the men aren't taking up more responsibilities, the responsibilities that would fall under the woman's role in the family. Empowering other women. Of course, seeing women who are in the same positions as them, have families or have come from nothing or have done it all by themselves, it empowers other women. But labeling them as women CEOs and women bosses keeps them in a box. So there, one of the things Ashley Sumner stated in the article was that she was always asked to be a part of a panel, but it wasn't just a regular panel, it was a panel for women. And she states how she just wants to be a part of any panel, not just for women. In this day and age, descriptive labels that, you know, they say the Black women CEOs or just women CEOs, it shouldn't be used as much, especially how far we have come. Finally, vertical occupational gender segregation. It is defined as reflecting the fact that men tend to hold positions with higher status, authority, and pay than women within any given field. Some women feel that stating that they're women will result in them not being treated fairly, either by others, their CEOs or by employees, simply because they're not seen as powerful like a man would be. They're not seen as successful like a man would be. And this goes back to my previous statement that women feel that they are boxed into to just discuss anything having to do with other women, or just being in women's circles. Although it helps in some way because it empowers other women, we're still a minority in the working field and we're treated as such. Future considerations. Even though right now it feels like a stalled revolution, I feel that in the upcoming years, as we see more women try to become entrepreneurs or bosses, or just business owners will see more equity in pay or in treatment. Um, and of course, I feel that because there's so much women um, accomplishing their goals, uh, that would lead into more empowerment for other women and for them to keep chasing their dreams. My opinion is we don't we don't need to state where there's a that we are a female business owner. It should just be a founder. Just like when men state they're a CEO, they don't say I'm a male CEO or I'm a black male CEO. They just say they're a CEO. Um, I feel that it hinders our growth as women in, being business owners. It hinders our growth because we're just not seen as equals. So stating it is yes, it's empowering other women, but at the same time, it's holding us back